Crisis booth. We're Jeffrey and Cardell. We're going to talk a little bit about the game, the brand new MOBA. So I want to start just like, what's your best like elevator speech for Infinite Crisis?
Yeah, I'll let Cardell give his elevator speech for Infinite Crisis.
All right, so basically, Infinite Crisis is a mobile game where you can basically play as Batman, as all Batman, using your world as a weapon to crush anyone who stands against you. Like, that is probably the fastest way of saying it. I think there's a lot of stuff going on in there, but I don't know. I think that's pretty succinct.
Perfect. Now, there's been an influx of MOBAs lately, as you probably know. Like, what makes yours so unique, and why would someone that does play like League of Legends or Dota 2, why would they want to at least try out Infinite Crisis?
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
There's a couple things that are the most important. One, obviously in the DC universe with the multiverse, it brings a certain familiarity to it, and you know what these characters are going to do. So from a power set and capability, if I'm going to be playing Batman, I'm going to be playing Superman, I'm going to be playing Wonder Woman. From the moment I start to play, I have expectations about what the capabilities of that character is going to be, and it lends a certain ease to getting started, which is really great. It's also wicked fun. And then the world that created for us was one where there had to be a lot of destruction going on, where you had to have an immediate impact on the environment around you through the nature of these combats that you were having, and that led us to some gameplay that we think is really interesting. On top of the sort of classical MOBA gameplay experience, where the environment that you're in is part of the gameplay. It's part of the weaponry. If there's a car on the street, you can pick that up and throw it at somebody. If you throw something up against a wall, it breaks. We kind of took it another step further and created what we call catastrophic events. So there's these things that happen during the course of a match that can actually add dimension to the gameplay. And what we're talking about today, in addition to the game, is our second back that we're working on. We'll get to that in a minute.
We'll get to that. So one of the most unique things then is destructible environments, which is, that's unique. I haven't seen that in Dota 2 or League of Legends. You can eat a tree in Dota 2, but that doesn't do too much for you. So that's definitely something that you would want as a player of one of the MOBAs. I kind of want to try that out.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it? Destructible environments. You can take all the credit you want.
Yeah,
all Cardell, everything Cardell.
Yeah, I guess that would be my fault. So yes,
Yeah.
The concept of a destructive environment, it was just one of those things that I felt you needed to have in order to be able to credibly say, hey, you're not playing faceless random character or champion here. You're playing Green Lantern. One day you'll be playing Superman. You're playing Batman. Like, all those characters are defined by how much power they have and how much influence they have over their environment. Like, one of the things that really inspired me initially was you look at the Matrix movies, and like as Neo went up and up in power, like the way they really showed his strength was the amount of just structural damage he was capable of inflicting. And that's the kind of thing that's necessary in order to be able to say, like, when you have a camera which is zoomed way out, and you're playing these characters that are supposed to be larger than life, yet they're really, really tiny on the screen, the best way to make them feel like they are as powerful as they actually are is to let the world itself echo their power.
So, do you kind of, on other MOBAs, do you take kind of some of their ideas? Obviously, it's not like borrowing or stealing, but you look at the bigger games and kind of some of the things, like what do they bring to your game?
Yeah, well, we play a ton of other MOBAs. Like, everyone in the design team plays tons and tons of them. We played them since like the original Dota, back when it was just a Warcraft mod, and everyone was like, "Are you playing this Dota thing? Yeah, it seems kind of odd. Oh, all right, whatever." Like, that was years and years ago.
Yeah.
So in that sense, we do play enough that we can look around and be able to say, like, okay, well, these are the types of things that we think have already been done, and these are the types of things that we thought were fun. These are the things we thought maybe weren't as fun. And more importantly, these are the types of things that we think are fun, but can be made more fun by doing them in this way. So whenever we do any type of champion design, we sit down and we try to figure out, like, first off, we're not starting from a blank slate, because like when you start off, you're looking like, what's Green Lantern about? Like, when a person looks at Green Lantern, they know about Green Lantern and what Hal Jordan's supposed to be like. That kind of informs his kit right up front, because like he is the world's first space cowboy. He comes in, guns blazing, doesn't really care, no escapes, because he doesn't ever need to escape, because why would you? Because he's Green Lantern.
Right.
Like, that's his model, that's his kit. And whenever you're trying to make these characters, you're trying to make them evoke a certain feeling. It's not so much where you're just looking around and trying to piecemeal skills to make them kind of stick together. You're trying to make the appropriate combination of skills that at the end of it you feel like, wow, I just totally ran in there, smashed this guy over the head with an anvil, hit him in the face with like 3 missiles, and then dropped the jet on him, like GG, and then you run off. Like, that's what you want. Like, that is the feeling. So
Yeah, we're not trying to create a new genre. Basically saying this is a really, really cool genre that has a long way to go, and we want to sort of bring it to the next level in some areas. So, me being great and growing my player skill and bringing that to the battle and winning because of all the great things that I've learned how to do, that's still the most important thing. And there's some mechanics that people expect, which is why we're gravitating more towards, at least an early game leading environment. But how can we make that more compelling from the beginning and how can we give you more choices basically in the game?
Yeah. I've always wondered, talking about the characters or the heroes, like, how hard is it to, not make one super powerful, the other one, like, how do you... I can't think of the word right now.
No, I understand. Like, so basically, it's like you're looking for some level of equivalence between those characters. Like, you want a world where every single character needs to be able to beat every other character.
Right,
I mean, this is what it is. Like, it's funny, as I had this question earlier. Another person was asking about Superman, and like, what do you do about Superman? Because clearly Superman is the original OP. Like, he is the original Kryptonian. Like, can do everything. And I think this is another case where actually DC is actually working for us, because every single time you look at any character, they were beaten by another character in some way. It's just how it works. I mean, the whole point is they were outplayed. There was a plan, people executed on that plan, and they won. And even Superman. Like, it doesn't really matter who they are. I mean, the original grudge match of Batman Superman, like, we all know how that ends as well. Like, it really comes down to a tier of trying to figure out when you make a character kit, that character kit, if played well, should make you feel like you in your head you imagine that character would feel. And then once you have that, then you're effectively tuning and balancing to try to make sure that it's not just flat broken. You may end up with characters that inherently are natural foils for other ones. So like, even right now in Gotham Heights, I actually feel that like the Joker is a natural foil for Doomsday. And it's one of those things, you didn't start off that way, you don't start off with that plan. But it's a pretty good one, and it generally has been true. And ironically enough, I think Nightmare Batman seems to be a natural foil for the Joker as well. So like, and that actually works super well, because obviously anyone who's read Red Rain knows that Nightmare Batman killed Nightmare Joker, like, and made him into a vampire, then staked him and left him somewhere. Like, that was the whole point. Like, he hated him. Like, and that was, even in the game, like, Nightmare Batman even says things, taunts Joker when he's in low health, and when he kills him, and things along those lines. So like, we try to make sure there's good interplay so that you always feel like those characters are actually there and they're actually fighting, and we had to try to make sure that the skills themselves echo what we want those characters to be like. So.
It's all about peaks and valleys.
Yes.
So the net power potential has to be the same.
Right. Yeah.
But one character peaks in a different way than the other one. So both of them can put a big giant hole in the ground eventually, but the way they do it is going to be different.
Yeah.
And then you start to learn what's the point and counterpoint that actually makes the most sense.
Right.
To Cardell's point. So.
So kind of change direction. You just recently announced partnership with MLG, and I know in the booth out here you got Major League gamers playing against regular gamers.
Yeah.
So how important was it to get on Major League Gaming, and like, how do you think that's going to progress, like, with the game?
I feel like it's one of those things that just validates us as a direction more than anything else. I mean, I don't really feel that we have that much to prove as an online game company. I mean, that's our DNA. Like, I don't even feel we have a lot to prove on the community side of that. We've been doing games like this for a long period of time. With continual updates, continual communication, and continual integration of people's feedback. Like, I feel like that is nothing new to us as a company. But I do feel that something that is primarily based around competition, like, that is something that is relatively new to us. And I think it's a statement that MLG is actually willing to partner with us, because they saw what we've done, and they were like, hey, we want to be a part of that. And
They see the potential.
yeah, they see that potential. And I think that really kind of just screams to the work that the team has done on the actual title.
It's also going to keep us on our toes and force us to get even better and better and better. Right? There's no escape, right? These are the people out there, these professional teams that we already have playing our game. We have to make an environment that feels right for them, and so that's going to push us actually to dig even deeper to make sure that the game is giving them what they expect and what they need.
How's the response been out there with the gamers playing against or with teaming up with the Major League gamers?
It's actually pretty good. I mean, the good news is that basically each team has one Major League Gamer coach and one Major League Gamer player. So at least in that sense, it's generally okay. I mean, I've yet to see a match go down that both people who, like, everyone who's left hasn't had a good time, in the sense of realizing that, oh, I could have done this instead of this, or this better than that. And I think that's the point. I mean, in these games, if you're going to be a fan of the MOBA space, you got to be prepared to lose, and you got to be prepared to lose in potentially a crushing way, such that you can actually learn stuff from it. And I feel like one of the things that we've been trying to do with this game is just make it much more obvious when things are happening, so that hey, you probably should have done this instead of this other thing, or in the fact that you lost this fight probably started a spiral that you started down.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Yeah, kind of speaking on that, I feel like I learn more a lot of times when I lose a match
Yes.
rather than
Yep.
just completely destroy something. It's like,
Yep.
what did we do? What did our team do?
Right.
We killed them right from the start.
Right. It's like, yes, early game dominance to middle game dominance
Right, yeah.
to late game. Like,
It's like any sport, right? You play somebody who's
Yeah.
like just
Right.
unbelievably better than you are, and
right.
it's probably better for you than it is for them.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, I think that just to riff off that further, like, there are points where if you're paired against someone who's just that much better than you, you're not even certain how they beat you because you never ever had control. I mean, obviously the trick is to be playing against some people who are better than you, but not so much better than you that you can't follow how they're beating you.
When I first started playing MOBAs, I got beat every game, didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
Is there a tutorial, or how do you bring people into the game without just being like throwing them in and what the heck just happened?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one. I think that overall, you try to do a combination because you do some tutorials, and
Right.
not everyone is going to watch a tutorial because,
Right.
as we all know, a person who's truly a hardcore, they don't care about tutorials. Like, that's fine.
It's like instructions, no one reads.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like, they're just
exactly.
like, whatever, I'm in
I'll
this
figure it
game.
out.
Like, it's great. I'm like, so that's one side of it. And then the second side is obviously trying to make sure that just in general, the game is making things more apparent. Like, this is the reason why we decided on the credit solution we have, where ultimately, when you last hit anything, the credit will come to you. But if that person is destroyed, not off your last hit, it leaves credits behind on the ground. It was kind of like a real simple change right up front to be able to say, like, hey, when you're pushing this area, when you're pushing anything, you can at least continue to gain money. Whereas a lot of people who originally start off these games don't even know. Like, they're pushing lane and it's just the wrong thing for them to do. And they don't even really know why, because it's not like they're really aware of the fact that they could have been getting currency, but now just aren't. And they end up kind of just extending themselves and getting murdered. And they don't really know what they're doing wrong, because every single game trope they've known to date is telling them that they should be doing what they're doing. And it's really kind of that model where it's like, I feel like that's a game mechanic. And it's one of those things where there are inherent benefits to basically allowing a person who is skillful enough to last it consistently to never lose their position, to always be right on the edge of their attack range, and to be constantly harassing and constantly kind of keeping that wave at that clear level without also doubly penalizing a person who has no idea like what else is happening.
Yeah,
on
for
the
someone
side.
coming in for the first time, loot on the ground is something that's just universal. Like, you know what that is? There's a gold shiny thing there. Oh, cool!
Right.
I should grab that. That's probably valuable
Yeah.
to me. Instead of spending your first, 5-10 matches not knowing there even is such a thing as gold, or why it matters, or anything. Why do I keep losing? Why am I not getting better? Well, that's why.
Right.
But if you're a more experienced player, you're not being penalized for that, right? Last hit like you always do, that
Yep.
gold's going to come right to you.
I mean, another thing which we obviously added was we added a recommended tab for just your artifacts. And our artifact solution is typically, it is just less complex than I feel a lot of other folks are. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have as much depth. It just means that ultimately every single artifact you buy upgrades linearly. I mean, you can sell off an artifact and go down a totally different path. Like, let's say, for instance, again, like we actually saw this earlier. Lotto Morris was building Wonder Woman, and I believe at the time he started building up an attack line, and then eventually sold down his attack line and started building up a health line because he knew that his team needed the extra health. And the fact is that Wonder Woman's passive doesn't scale super well late game, so without that extra health, he wouldn't have been able to hold aggro for as long as he needed to for his team to win. And those are the types of mechanics that you always want. As any form of RPG or RTS fan, or anyone who's a fan of numbers with their action, you need to have that level of depth so that a person can then do the math, do their combos, and figure out what is the appropriate build for this time. And you don't ever want to lose that, but at the same time, you don't want to hit a person with a wall of text. You don't want them to have to sit down every single time in order to feel they're getting the optimal build and learn 15 different items that transmute into 15 other items that transmute into 3 items at the end, one of which has an active ability, the other 2 don't. It's like this weird kind of setup that I feel is a very good setup for the space. I mean, I love it. I play the games all the time, but I do feel that you can fine tune it. You can make it more approachable. So it's just one of those things where you kind of sprinkle it through your entire design, and you hope that everyone can ramp up on it just faster.
And lastly, let's talk about the new map here, Coast City. Just
Okay.
announced. How is that different from the original map?
Okay. So Coast City's completely unique to the space. There is nothing else like Coast City out there. Coast City is a 5v5 map. It is pentagon shaped, and what you see in it is a combination of zone control and and laning and turrets. So it has 2 big lanes. It has a whole again, I have no idea what meta people are going to adopt for it, because internally there's wars, religious debates as to what is the superior meta for people to do and which ones you can pull off versus which you can't. But what happens is this map has a much larger jungle than any other jungle I've ever played in any other map. So the urban jungle's huge. It's a sprawl, and the simple fact is just with one jungler running around, he won't clear. He won't optimize that as a lane. So I mean, you really do want other people dipping into it, but fundamentally, while you're running around in that jungle, there are other things in that space that you need to control. So like in the actual map layout itself, you can see there are 3 smaller points. Those are power relays. As you take power relays, your minions get tougher. If you have 1 power relay, your minions are just generally, they hit harder, they're a little tougher, they take longer to be destroyed by towers. If you have 2, you have super minions in your top lane. If you have 3, you have super minions in both lanes. So in that sense, you really want to control the zones if you can, so that you can push the other person's towers and destroy their base. Because if you destroy their base, you win. Kind of simple in that sense. One of the big determinants in the middle, though, is the Doomsday device. Now, for us, for Gotham Heights, when we started off, we wanted destructive PvP in terms of being able to change the map and change what you can move through. And we also wanted catastrophic events. And from Coast City, we decided to up the ante on both of those. So for destructive PvP, we decided, well, we got a lot of cars just in the area and a lot of the things you can interact with. What if we actually started making areas where the only way you could get through them is if you could in fact destroy those map interactives, thus allowing you to basically have gang paths that you would never be able to see coming. And other opportunities, like escape routes that you wouldn't be able to see coming. So now, for instance, you may see a person be fighting in a lane, and you may see the enemy jungler come up behind them, pick up a Humvee, and run through the wall that previously no one could run through before. And next thing you know, they're getting hit by a Humvee, and then being tackled and launched in the lane and just being murdered. That was what we wanted. We wanted more of the, oh wow, this whole map can evolve, and as those things are destroyed, as they're removed, those holes stay. That place is always pathable now, so that means that people are always moving through it, and there are merits and flaws to having that hole there. And the next one for us was to make sure the catastrophic event was even more enticing than the old one. So for Gotham Heights, you could trigger a catastrophic event. In Coast City, you will capture a catastrophic event, aim the catastrophic event, and fire it at someone, basically doing a bunch of bad things to whoever you hit. And up to and including, you can destroy turrets, you can destroy the enemy team, you can smash holes open in the map so that you can go through places you couldn't get through before. That was what we were looking for in terms of Coast City itself. And I feel that all of that together makes the map just play unlike any other map that I've ever played.
Awesome. So when can we expect open beta? No answer?
I'll leave this for him.
You can expect lots of things. No, I mean, we're in closed beta now. We're already beginning to invite more and more people. We want to get to open beta as soon as we can when the time is right. It's definitely going to be this year. We want this game to be essentially a live game this year.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure we do it right. So every step is more learning for us, and so far it's been going great. So we're really confident and excited.
Yeah, we look forward to playing it.
Yeah,
All
cool.
right, thanks, Chef Cardell. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.